Hello everybody. So today we're going to be tying the MiteyCray pattern. It's a pattern of my own design tied on a size 1 Dairiki number 700 streamer hook. And we put a custom bend in there just down about halfway about the hook shank. And what that does is it gives it more of a crayfish look to it when it's swimming. We're going to mount that in our vise just like this. And the first surface we're going to be working on is right here. Mount that up right like that. We're going to take, and I have a bobbin loaded with UTC 140 denier brown, just to match the deer hair as best as we can. Like this, we're going to take, and we're going to start it right here at the bend, bring it up like that, just to get it started, and we're going to snap that off. All right, so the next step, we're going to take .025 lead wire, and then we're going to start wrapping it about right here. Now, I like to cover about 3/4 of the shank right here to that bend. We're going to do our wraps in, just like that. Start wrapping that tag end so we can use as much of this as we possibly can. Just like this. All right. Compress that, bring it to right there. Now you want to leave a little space right there on the hook eye, just so that we can tie in things later. Now we're going to tie down with our tying thread and then bring it through the lead, just like that. And what that'll do is it'll actually anchor the lead so it doesn't move from where we want it. Just like that. Bring it back to here, and we're going to bring it up to right there. Adjust our hook so we have this surface to work with now. We're going to be bringing it to the point of the hook. About point to the hook. Right there. Now you're going to want to take and you're going to want to cut some of the thinner fibers from a piece of brown bucktail. We're going to take and we're going to take out all the smaller hairs that aren't what we want. Right, like that. So we have a few there. They'll make cleanup easier at the end. We grab it right there. And we're going to measure hook shank plus the tips. So it's about right there plus a little bit. We're going to do a pinch grab. Grab right there, and we're going to want to tie it on the side. I'll actually change the vise. We're going to tie it on the side like that. Bring it up, and we're going to let the thread torque bring it over. And as you can see, we have some extra fibers coming out like that. They'll just come out, just no worry. Okay? And we're going to bring it back to where the barb is, like so. And what that'll do is that'll create our head and part of our body. And we're going to take, and the first thing you may think is to cut this and just get rid of it. But what we're going to do, so we're going to actually rotate it on top, and we're going to do wraps through it. And what that'll do is it'll actually help create our body, and it'll add a little bit of float into the front as well. Tie that in, like that. There we go. And we're going to want to create a good thread base for our next steps right up here at the head underneath the tip of the hook. Just like that. We're going to let our thread hang. Now what I've done is I've taken and I have burned monofilament with a lighter, and that has given me my eyes. They look like this. They give us a nice crayfish looking eye. We're going to set those in just like this. Right there. And we're going to do this almost like lead dumbbell eyes, where you do a figure of 8 around it. Tie that in like this, just to get them really mounted in there. And then the size of your eyes, you can change it depending upon the size of the hook. It's completely up to you. And these don't necessarily need to be on the pattern, but they do add to the lifelikeliness of it, which I really do appreciate. There we go. So we've got those mounted in. And we're going to go right up in front of here, like that. This is the start of where our deer hair is tied in. And this is the aesthetic part of this tie-in. And what it is we're going to be using horsetail. We're going to use a strand of horsetail. And what that'll do is it'll give us an antenna-like look to it. Right, like that. And it looks like this. It's almost like monofilament or wrapped wire. And it's very sturdy. And the way I like to do it is I take and hook it in like that. I'm going to take my bobbin. I'm going to bring it up like this. Drop that. We're going to bring it back down over the top. Now what we're doing is we're not worrying about catching it immediately. We're going to center it, grab them like this so that it makes a V. We're going to tighten up our bobbin, bring it up, and we're going to tie it in so it does the V, like that. There we go. So we've got that in there. A couple more tight wraps. There we go. Good deal. Now, what I'm using today for dubbing, we're going to mount these right here as well, just to keep them out of our way. What I'm using for dubbing today is actually MiteyQuin Dub. It's one of my favorites for this pattern just because it has the shine to it. It has the crayfish-like body color. It's really good, in my opinion. We're going to use a small amount of that, and we're going to just do a dubbing noodle on here, just like so. Grab that. And we're going to take and we're going to run it up just like this. And I like to keep a hold of my dubbing just to keep it tight and make it look real nice. Like that. And I like to also operate the dubbing with one hand and the bobbin with the same fingers just to get a good amount of control. Now like that, we have enough dubbing to where I'm happy. We're going to bring this back behind the eyes just a little bit behind the eyes, just to get us the color. I'm not too worried about body shape like right now. Now what I've done is I've taken 2 ringneck pheasant tail feathers, and I have cleaned up the backs, and I have taken and cut 2 V-grooves in there. We're going to take our vise, and I'm going to move it so you guys can see. We're going to tie these in downwards. So they're going to be like this. We're going to tie them in, just like so. So there's that. We got one in. And these can be adjusted later, a little bit better, but I do like to keep them down because in the water they will float a little bit and they will come up like a natural crayfish. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie this one in right here, just like that. Okay, and from the top, that'll look like this. From the bottom, they'll look like that, which looks pretty good. Good deal. We're going to pull these forward just a little bit. One behind, one in front. Get those really anchored down. There we go. We're going to cut those off, just like that. And then we're going to wrap over the top of them, like this. There we go. All right, so you can still see our eyes. You can see our 2 claws are still visible. And what we're going to do now is we're going to tie in 2 large brown saddle hackle feathers, just like that. I've taken and I've cleaned up the ends and snipped off the thicker portions. And these, it doesn't matter, in what I've found, it does not matter which way you tie these in. I prefer to tie them in so the shiny side is facing forward, the dull side is facing backwards, like you would wrap a regular hackle if you were doing any other pattern. So that when I pull it forward, I can have them not face that way, I can have them facing, or not face that way, I can have them facing backwards like that. So they're more of a leg-like, or more of the underside of the carapace. What that'll do is when we wrap them backwards, we can actually tie them off up here. And I'm just going to, instead of snipping those off, we're still building body. The more mass, the better. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie them into right here and just keep them on there. They are definitely in there. Just like that. There we go. Okay, now right here, we're going to start a dubbing loop. It's where you take and you stretch out the thread, you tie back in over the top of itself, and I found about 5 inches works the best for this pattern, for this length of hook. We're going to wrap around the dubbing loop like that, like you saw me do. We're going to come back up and over, wrap one more time around to re-straighten our thread, or get it back to the way we were wrapping. And what that does is it gives us a really nice, really tight dubbing loop. Now right here I have Wapsi Premium Dubbing Wax. It's the same as every other dubbing wax, just has premium in front of it. We're going to take and we're going to coat that with dubbing wax, like that. Now like I said before, we're going to be using Craw Dub, Wapsi Craw Dub. We're going to take little tufts and we're going to put them in there just like that. Just like that. There we go. The nice thing I found about dubbing loops, rather than doing a noodle of dubbing, is as you can see up here, they're very tight. They're very tight, compact dubbing sections. And what that is doing is it's giving us a color base so that there's no brown thread that can be seen. With this, what it's doing is it's actually puffing out the fibers to where we can brush them and have them look more body-like and more out and pronounced, which is good in my opinion for this pattern. Now we're going to take a dubbing twister. You don't necessarily need a dubbing twister. If you have any other kind, it will work. This one's just faster for me, and there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to twist the dubbing loop like so. And the nice thing about the dubbing wax is it keeps it from falling out while you're twisting it, and it also helps you put it in at the start. So just like that. And as you can see, we do have some clumps like right here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take a dubbing brush. We're just going to brush that out so we have almost like a big fluffy cord, which is what we want. I'm going to take it off my dubbing twister. And you can use hackle pliers with this. I personally do not. We're going to bring our thread forward, and we're tying in till about right there. We want to keep that eye clear as we can. Okay, we're going to start doing our wraps. You want to start as close as you can to right there. We can clean it up after if we need to. Just like that. There we go. There we go. And as you can see, it also gives a somewhat segmented look with the way we've done this. There we go. Stretch this as far as we can. There we go. Tie. Grab that, switch hands. And then you really want to anchor this in there just to be safe. When in doubt, anchor more. There we go. We're going to snip off this excess end right here, just like that. Okay, and now what we can do is we can take our dubbing brush again, and we're just going to bring those fibers a little bit down, bring them out, just fluff it up just a little bit so it looks like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 hackle feathers, and we're going to start wrapping those, just like that. You're just going to wrap them back, just like that. There we go. Bring them to here. Bring that forward, grab here, switch hands, bring it up. I found with wrapping hackle, one of the best ways you can do it is wrap straight or tie straight up. Once you have a hold of those, you tie straight up, and then you can move them back, you can start working forward. That will minimize, in smaller patterns and things like that, will minimize the amount of hackle that we actually have stick off like this. So as you can see, there's very little here, and we've wrapped 2 of those feathers, so that's pretty minimal for 2 feathers. What we're going to do is we're going to cut those off, like that. And there we have good looking legs. Now, this is the most important part, I would argue, where we tied in that deer hair at the start. You want to take and grab all of that. You want to make sure that it's all going the same way. You're going to bring it back, and you're going to want to take your finger, grab it right there, tie the tail in. You want to make sure that you count for thread torques. You do 1 soft wrap around the top, bring this back up and over, tie in right there. You're going to grab and pull just like that underneath those thread wraps. And what we're going to do is we're going to compress that and do some more tight wraps just like that. That's why I like this 140 denier by UTC. And as you can see, we do have some fibers that weren't quite long enough to reach to the back. That is not a problem. We're going to cut those off later. Now what we can do is we can take a hold of our horsehair or our horsetail, stretch it out, and I like to do it to where the claws are plus a little bit. So about right there is where I want them. And as you can see, the way we tied in that horsehair, they're actually going to sit almost like they would naturally, just like that. We're going to take, you can do a whip finish, or you can take and you can do a half hitch. I'm going to do both just to demonstrate. I like to take my thumb just because it's larger. We're going to grab like that, and with this larger pattern, I can use 2 hands on the half hitch, which is nice. But a lot of the times on smaller patterns, you can actually take and you can do a singular half hitch just like that by wrapping around your finger, bring it up and over, and then you settle it where you want it, just like, see if I can do this without trapping any fibers. There we go, just like that. Tie it right there. We're going to grab our half hitch tool and throw a 4-turn half hitch over the back, or not a half hitch, a whip finish, my bad. Throw whip finish over the end just like that. Pull that off. So the reason we do the whip finish before we do this final step is to ensure that we have that hair captured, because we really don't want that coming undone, especially considering it would be difficult to actually pull them all forward again and make sure they're all together and deal with the bend that we had. Now what we have here is another dubbing noodle. We're going to do a couple of wraps. Tighten up my thread real quick. There we go. We're going to do just some small wraps with this dubbing, just to hide that brown tying thread. Now what we're going to do, final part, we're going to take off the excess dubbing really quick. There we go. We're going to reattach that, finish it out, just like that. Pull the tail forward. Then we're going to do a couple wraps. Now we're going to take our whip finish, just like that, bring it forward. And then this is nice because we can actually push the hair back, just like that. We're going do that one whip finish just like that. All right, snip the tying thread off, just like that. Now we're going to take our crayfish, move the vise over. We're going to take our crayfish, and we're going to come in underneath. We're going to find all the fibers that did not quite reach to the end, just like this. And then I've found what's nice, this is a good thing, is you can't actually pull them off with ease, which is good because that means that they're in there tight. All right, now something I'd like to illustrate about this pattern that I really enjoy is with the lead wire that we put in there, it's actually self-righting. So when you put it in the water, it may land on its side, but it will come back to the top. And then alongside that, right here with the carapace coming down, as you can see, there's a space. What's nice about that is when you do hook into a fish, this will come down. Rather than being taut and able to be cut, it'll come down like that. You have the open hook, and it can be pulled off with ease. Right there, we have our finished product, the MiteyCray. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you liked, leave a like as well, and leave any comments you would like if you want to see another pattern or anything as such. Thank you and have a nice day.